right, welcome to the Week 2 Forum. This week again, as I mentioned with the overview, we're dealing with ancient political theory, how the Greeks thought about politics, and how their thinking about politics influences us to this very day, particularly in our understandings of democracy and the desirability of republican government. So, um, how did the Greeks organize themselves? And, you know, what kinds of communities did they organize themselves into? What was their politics like? We know that they were fundamentally oriented around the idea of a polis, which is effectively a kind of city-state, which are fairly small communities. Athens was one of the largest, in Greece in ancient times, around 300 BC, and probably didn't have more than about a quarter of a million people living in it. And of that quarter of a million people, only about 30,000 were effectively what we might call citizens, people with the actual right to voice their opinions on political topics. Women were excluded. Anyone whose grandfather was not a citizen was excluded. So it was a highly exclusive kind of politics. It was a highly intimate kind of politics. It was a very hierarchical kind of politics, even as it was very democratic. So how does that sort of idea about sort of the intimacy of direct face-to-face democracy influence the way we view democracy to this very day? As with all forums, remember, you have to do the 1-4-4 formula, right? I want you to give me one post by Tuesday, summarize, giving me an idea that you've read the material. Now that can either be in the form of a summary, or it could be in the form of a series of questions, right? What is it about the material that you're having trouble understanding? Give me an idea of what you're struggling with, and I'll be able to help you a lot more effectively. Then you need to make 4 posts, 4 replies to your fellow students, respectful but not, fluff. I don't want to see, oh wow, what a great perspective, that really opened my eyes. You're not really adding to a conversation when you're doing that. You're just kind of mutually stroking one another's egos. I want to see a little bit more engagement. And then you have to make those posts over the majority of the remainder of the week, which means 4 days. You can't just come in on Sunday, pop in and put a bunch of posts in and get full credit. If I see that all your posts are on the last, day that the forum is open, that will impact your grade. So once again, how does Greek thinking influence us today? How did it influence, for example, early Christian thinking? What impact did, for example, the Stoics play on how the Christians, conceived the early church and the ideas about virtue and things like that? So that should be enough to get you going. And let's have a good week of